Hi guys, so my name is Tommy. I'm one of the student developers. Today we'll be representing the Eclipse Adoptium team and its sub-project AQAvit. So we are a team of 7 student developers and 4 mentors. Myself and Jerome are from UBC.
Myself, Nadine, and Yi are from U of A.
Jocelyn and I are from McGill University.
And now I hand it over to Nadine to introduce Adoptium. Oh, sorry. Before that, I have to introduce our mentors, Shelley, Sophia, Len, and Mesbah. Thank you so much for your help this weekend. And now Nadine. So sorry about that.
So what is Adoptium? It was formerly known as Adopt OpenJDK, and it's Eclipse's mission to produce high quality runtimes and associated technologies with Java ecosystem. And that does that through a set of projects under Eclipse Adoptium. Most notably are AQAvit and Temurin. Temurin is the actual Java binaries that Adoptium provides. And AQAvit, the next slide, is what our focus will be on for the duration of CANOSP. So AQAvit is the Adoptium Quality Assurance project. And what it is a set of tests that are selected from key open source stacks. And what they do is ensure enterprise level quality requirements and beyond just making sure that it abides by the compliance for Java languages. We do it to stay vital and complete. We want it to be tests that are not stale, and we do that with a set of projects. The TRSS, which is the way to view it, CI system, and TKG is just the basic set of tests. And AQAvit is unique because it is not just for Temurin, the Adoptium binary. It is universal for all Java binaries, so it can be used for any other project.
Yeah, thanks Nadine for giving us an overview of how our projects have been. So I'm going to talk about the Jenkins as our CI tool. So during our code sprint, everyone in our team has the chance to have a basic taste of how our CI tool has been utilized for our quality assurance. So Jenkins scripts are used for building, testing, and continuous integration, as I just mentioned. And also Grinder is the job that within Jenkins that allows us to fill in a couple of fields, setting the targets, upstreams, and tasks. So for these custom settings. And next slide, please.
Thanks, Jerome. The test result summary service, or TRSS, is the top layer client of AQAvit services. Essentially, TRSS is a dashboard that allows developers to view, monitor Jenkins servers and the performance of their build pipelines. And if you're like me, you tend to get lost in a huge chunk of logging information. The dashboard simplifies and organizes build and logging information so that you're able to quickly sift through, identify, and debug issues within your pipelines. There's options to filter, sort, and search through your pipelines and builds, and it offers data visualizations such as runtime and test result performance statistics. TRSS is an easy way to gather and build information and report these test results.
Thanks, Tommy. So one of our goals is to have an Adoptium marketplace, which will be a central location where vendors can market their own binaries. There will be 3 requirements to be met to do so. You need to be a member of Eclipse Adoptium working group, you need to pass the TCK, and you need to acquire AQA certification. The AQA certification is a feature which is still in the early stages of development, and we are hoping to release this feature soon. Next slide. So on the first day of our code sprint, our mentors introduced us to the project and GitHub workflows. We joined the Eclipse contributor agreement, so we are able to push our work to GitHub. Mentors also familiarized us with Jenkins and the Grinder testing tools, and we also learned about each other's hobbies. Next slide. So later, each one of us worked on some warm-up issues to get used to the workflow and testing. The issue that I worked on was writing a script that would automatically run previously disabled tests if the associated GitHub issue is closed. I learned how one could model complex continuous delivery pipeline as code while I was looking through the Jenkins file base on GitHub. Next, Jerome will talk about what he worked on.
Yeah, thanks, Abir, for sharing the experience. So for my first issue, I got a chance to look into the test kit generation repo, and my task was trying to add supports for more platforms so that the small text will not be failing to be loaded. And I noticed that the half of the issue that I've been looking at was actually taken by some other team members at an earlier stage. He already raised the PR for that. So my takeaway here is that collaborations and communications are definitely one of the key aspects for better productivity in such an open source projects. And also during my second task, where I was disabling the test for some performance tests, thanks to our mentors, Shelley and Len, we got a chance to quickly get to know what the targets and upstreams and our fields for our Jenkins job. So seeking help and asking the right questions are the main takeaway for my second tasks. And after getting to know the QA requirements, the CI tools, project and team structure, I think we are ready for the challenges in term. So that's for me. Next, Jocelyn will talk about his experience.
Yep, I re-enabled some tests for the JDK 18. I trimmed some unused URL parameters from a link we generated on the page, and also I clarified the description for a platform all. So running the test on all platforms, quite unintuitively, it doesn't mean all platforms, it just means most of them, or the most commonly used ones. I had used other CI tools before, but never Jenkins. I was kind of impressed how you can really tweak the behavior all over the place and extend the platform with plugins, but it is very ugly. Nadine?
Yeah, so I worked on updating the workflow versions for GitHub Actions to include the latest or the LTS long-term support JDK versions. I also worked on adding a sorter to the TRSS, the top level view, that sorts it by issue status, so open or closed. And I also removed some extra configuration files. What I learned for the project is the GitHub workflow for how to work. It was a little bit of a steep learning curve, but we got there eventually. And also how everything relates to each other. So I have a better understanding of Adoptium and how all of its sub-projects sort of are symbiotic. And you can go to the next slide.
Sorry, I was having some issues with Zoom. But this code sprint, I worked on improving test coverage in TRSS by adding generic checks in Cypress. I learned that TRSS is actually missing a lot of important unit tests that covers basic things like rendering and replicating expected behaviors. So I added some of those generic tests so that we can replicate it for other pages. Without these basic checks, once we start growing the front end, components become susceptible to breaking due to like dependency upgrades, feature additions, and other breaking changes. So that's really what we got started, what I got started with this weekend.
So during this code sprint, I was mainly focused on updating Jenkins files to enhance checking condition for the SDK file. And with the help of Shelley, Len, and Sophia, I learned something new from this open source project. So the proper logic condition branch can enhance the test performance, and the improper logic condition branch could break the test very easy. And I also know the validation of different combination of SDK URL and customized SDK URL and different scenario we need to use to satisfy the proper test results.
So the warm-up issues I worked on were re-enabling JDK tests, and I simplified some Git commands in one of the files. I learned the workflow for the project. I got a deeper understanding of AQAvit and how to validate our pull request to require.
Abir mentioned a little earlier that one of the requirements for getting binaries into the marketplace was AQAvit certification. So making sure that it runs all the tests. And so this semester, we're partly going to work on that, making tools and processes for getting that certification automatically, because many vendors like IBM, Microsoft, Amazon, Alibaba, they build their own binaries. So we're going to be helping basically keeping a high quality bar for the Java environment. But we're also going to be working on existing tools, TKG, the Jenkins TRSS, to basically simplify and improve them, and by identifying pain points and solving them, basically. Tommy, you're
That's
good.
the end of our present. Oh yeah, sorry about that. That's the end of our presentation. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be happy to take over questions if you have any.